Welcome, I'm Renaya, and today we cover another portion of our ongoing series. But first, consider the following two questions. Question 1. Question 2. And both to be answered now on today's Food to Go, Ancient Words for Modern Man. Let's begin. Verse 1. Instead of a friend, become not an enemy, for thereby thou shalt inherit an ill name, shame, and reproach, even so shall that hath a double tongue. So what are we saying here? That you should choose to be neutral before becoming an enemy, and if anything, you'll do what Paul and Barnabas did in Acts chapter 15. You split. Verse 2. Install not thyself in the counsel of thine own heart, that thy soul be not torn in pieces as a bull straying along. And for this, we just look at Nebuchadnezzar, and you see how in his pride, he declared that he created everything, and how the Most High humbled him. So if we're not careful, the Most High will uproot us as well. Verse 3. Thou shalt eat up thy leaves, and lose thy fruit, and leave thyself as a dry tree. So what is this whole comparison to a tree representative of? Well, your leaves equal protection, things that shade you from the sun, that gives you a buffer room, that gives you your security insurance. Your fruit is your offspring, and your tree is yourself. So in all this, if we choose the pathway of exalting ourselves, then this is what our fate will be, as a dried up tree. Verse 4. A wicked soul shall destroy him that hath it, and shall make him to be laughed to scorn of his enemies. So let's clarify, who are the wicked? Well, when you look at other scriptures, you recognize that there are the people who are considered proud. And what makes one proud is one's inability to show that there is, or claim that there is, a creator who governs all. Verse 5. Sweet language will multiply friends, and a fair-speaking tongue will increase kind greeting. And this is truth, but it also must be balanced. And for that, see Proverbs chapter 26, verse 6, which states that a friend will give you faithful wounds, but an enemy will just blow kisses for their own advantage, and they may have the sweetest of words, but it's a lie. Verse 6. Be in peace with many, nevertheless have but one counselor of 1,000. So the point of this is no needless instigations. At the same time, limit who you consider a friend, because everyone is not friendship material. Verse 7. If thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first, and be not hasty to credit him. So question 1. Must a friend prove himself? Absolutely. A whole bunch of stuff can come about from us taking very little time to find out who we are befriending. And the same way with us, we must also show the same openness to be tested, whether our lives will match, whether we're going down the same pathway. Verse 8. For some man is a friend for his own occasion, and will not abide in the day of thy trouble. So fame, contacts, usury, they're all a different occasion that men congregate for, but will they really be there when everything goes awry? And just to see an example of this, look at Job chapter 1, verses 14 through 19, where he loses his children, his livestock, and he loses his property as well. Verse 9. And there is a friend who, being turned to enmity and strife, will discover thy reproach. And again, this is another reason why friends are vetted, to find out what kind of tactics they may use potentially against you. And here you have someone who's actually going out of their way to discover what will cause you shame. Verse 10. Again, some friend is a companion at the table, and will not continue in the day of thy affliction. So again, for this type of dilemma problem, we look at Job, and this time chapter 2 verses 1 through 10, where he contracts bulls, and he has a foolish wife telling him to curse the Most High and die. So even in our marital relationships, or those leading up to marriage, those people need to be vetted as well, to make sure that you are avoiding any troubles down the line. Verse 11. But in thy prosperity he will be as thyself, and will be bold over thy servants. So again, we have another reason that we should thoroughly investigate those who we are befriending, to avoid anyone who potentially will be covetous over the things that we have. Verse 12. If thou be brought low, he will be against thee, and will hide himself from thy face. So how do we avoid this heartache altogether? Well, one sure way is just being proactive, showing and testing. So you ask someone to do this, seeing whether you're on the same line, testing their spirit, and see whether they will reciprocate it, or whether it's always a dependency on you to take care of something. Maybe something as simple as, okay, let's make phone calls. If you find yourself lopsidedly making all the phone calls, and this person is unattentive, doesn't care, but they're always there when it's time to spend your money, then you got a problem. Finally, verse 13, separate thyself from thy enemies and take heed of thy friends. So our second question, should we keep enemies close? Absolutely not. Once again, we may have the cliche of keep your friends close and your enemies closer, but the Most High is telling us that that should be the opposite. What does darkness have to do with light? What does light have to do with darkness? And for further proof of this, even in the future, in Joel chapter 3, verse 6 to 8, you have the Most High having the Israelites actually sending their enemies far away by selling them to the Sabaeans. So Most High has always been about separating those who are against him and those who are for him. Let's review. Now for our sword ready verse. And that's a wrap. Until next time, Shalom.